Step into a typical British household in 1975, and you'd be greeted with an array of familiar items emblematic of the era. In the bathroom cabinet, you'd likely spot a trusty bottle of TCP, a staple antiseptic, whose strong scent was unmistakable and whose efficacy was trusted for generations. By the bedside, there was probably a jar of Vicks VapoRub, ready to tackle any congested nights with its potent menthol aroma. On a shelf, you'd find a tin of Andrew's liver salts, a go-to remedy for indigestion and those post-meal uprisings. Every household seemed to have these essential products, and they reflected a time when families faced similar health challenges as today's world. Yet, there was a resilience evident in the way they bounced back from illnesses, a fortitude that often saw them shrug off ailments without much fuss. British families of the 70s appeared to possess something that seems to have faded in contemporary times: simple, effective remedies and a lifestyle that naturally promoted better health. Take, for instance, Lucozade. This iconic beverage came in a distinctive glass bottle wrapped in yellow cellophane, a sign you were unwell. Back then, Lucozade wasn't a product you'd find lining supermarket shelves. It was a staple in pharmacies, strategically placed alongside medications. It was, after all, considered a medicinal aid, with its slightly raised glass bumps near the neck of the bottle and the slogan promising to aid recovery. Its sweet, citrus flavor was unforgettable and offered a soothing experience as you slowly sipped it through a bendy straw while recovering under a cozy blanket on the sofa. That hit of glucose didn't just taste refreshing. It provided much-needed energy when solid foods felt like an insurmountable obstacle. Receiving Lucozade from your mum was not just care in action but a tradition of comfort. In schools every morning, a routine unfolded as the milk monitor carried crates of small glass bottles into the classroom. Each was a third of a pint, topped with foil caps that bulged during winter when the milk froze solid, or that were warm and slightly sour in summer's heat. After the war, free school milk was implemented to ensure children received vital nutrients, contributing to stronger bones and healthier childhoods. Although Margaret Thatcher, then Education Secretary, controversially ceased this practice for those over 7 in 1971, the memory of her as Thatcher Milk Snatcher lingered. Throughout the 70s, countless children benefited from their daily calcium and vitamin D dose. Even as winter mornings presented frozen bottles left to thaw by heaters and summers turned milk into a tepid brew you drink while pinching your nose, this simple act of nutrition fostered robust growth. The milk from that era was richer in fats, vitamins, and nutrients, far superior to many of today's processed counterparts. For the inevitable scrapes from playing outdoors, there was a universal treatment: TCP. This brown liquid, with its nasal clearing odor, served as the household cure-all. Whether diluted for cuts and grazes or applied directly to pesky spots, its sting was sharp and memorable. You could expect your mother to chase you around the kitchen, armed with cotton wool and a bottle of TCP, knowing that the impending burn would bring tears to your eyes but also confidence that infections were kept at bay. Scraped knees from taking a tumble off your favorite chopper bike, the kind with the high handlebars and banana seat, were a regular occurrence. And every time you found yourself picking gravel out of your skin, it was TCP that came to the rescue. Nettle stings from misadventures in the garden or on wild country walks, even the pesky and painful mouth ulcers that seemed to pop up randomly, were all remedied with a dab of TCP. This antiseptic solution was a household staple, trusted by parents to heal a multitude of minor ailments. If you had a sore throat, you would dilute TCP in a glass of water and perform a gargle that was a challenge in itself, trying not to swallow even a drop. The taste was sharply bitter, and while it clung to your taste buds stubbornly, there was a sense of comfort in its familiarity. In the 1970s, every family had a bottle of TCP tucked away in their bathroom cabinet, and its distinctive medicinal smell was almost like a badge of care, signaling to others that you were being tended to with utmost seriousness. As soon as the first sniffle of a cold started, out came the trusty Vicks VapoRub. That iconic blue jar filled with the soothing mix of menthol, camphor, and eucalyptus oil was in every household's medicine arsenal. Your mother would scoop out a generous glob and spread it thickly across your chest and throat, ensuring that no spot was left untouched by its potent, healing fumes. To maximize its efficacy, she would warm a flannel on the radiator until it was piping hot and gently lay it over the Vicks, trapping in the vapors like a makeshift sauna for your chest. The intensity of the menthol and camphor would hit your sinuses like a cleansing tidal wave, making it feel like you could hardly breathe. Yet despite the initial overpowering sensation, by morning, the congestion that had lodged in your chest the night before would miraculously ease. Some others took an extra step, applying a touch of the rub beneath your nose, ensuring you inhaled nothing but its soothing scent throughout the night. The smell would penetrate every fiber of your pajamas, infuse itself into your sheets, and linger in the air of your bedroom. You'd awaken enveloped in the fragrance of Vicks, your skin slightly greasy but undeniably relieved, the tightness in your chest noticeably eased. There was no rush to antibiotics for every small symptom here, just trusted home remedies and a mother's tender care. Imagine a time when keeping winter illnesses at bay involved some truly unique remedies. Back in the 1970s, a particular bedtime ritual involved a popular rub that not only opened airways but also helped fight infections as you slept. During the colder months, many mothers of the era put their faith in the age-old remedy of cod liver oil and malt to fortify their children's defenses against winter ailments. This concoction came packed in a large jar and had a taste that was unforgettable. Imagine the odd combination of fishy sweetness with a caramel undertone mingling with the potent flavor of cod liver oil. Children typically had polarized opinions about it. They either relished it or despised it, leaving no room for indifference. Each morning presented the delightful or dreadful routine of lining up to receive your daily dose. With a firm determination, your mother would dig deep into the thick, sticky paste with a spoon, handing it to you while her eyes conveyed a clear message. Refusal was not an option. With apprehension or anticipation, you'd open your mouth, allowing the mixture to coat your tongue, and swallowing it swiftly became an acquired skill. The jar, often emblazoned with a mark of 7CS, promised an abundance of vitamins A and D, crucial not just for general growth but for ensuring robust bones and a strong defense against sickness. Before the era when vitamins transformed into pill form, this was the traditional method for boosting one's health. Then there were days when your stomach just didn't feel right. Perhaps a questionable meal or a bug making its rounds was to blame. Out came the trusted remedy of kaolin and morphine. This chalky white liquid, housed in a brown bottle, required a good shake to blend its contents before use. The taste was quite challenging to palate, evoking the sensation of drinking liquid chalk, grainy, thick, and far from pleasant. Yet its efficacy was undisputed. Within an hour, discomfort eased and the pain subsided. You could easily purchase kaolin and morphine over the counter at any pharmacy, no prescription necessary. Although it contained only small amounts of morphine, it was sufficient to soothe an upset digestive system. Parents of the 70s regarded it as a sensible, effective medicine. Stomach bugs didn't overstretch their welcome beyond a day or two thanks to its quick action. After a hearty Sunday roast, if one's dad felt the telltale heaviness and sluggishness, he would instinctively reach for Andrew's liver salts. This tin of effervescent powder contained a remedy for such discomforts, with 1 spoonful dissolved in a glass of water. The drink solution fizzed energetically, as you hurried to drink it before the bubbles vanished. Andrew's liver salts had been a trusted household staple since 1894, and by the 70s, it was a fixture in nearly every bathroom cabinet. With its formulation, including sodium bicarbonate, citric acid, and magnesium sulfate, it calmed upset stomachs and countered indigestion. Be it hangovers, overindulgence in rich foods, or feeling bloated post-festive feasting, Andrew's was the go-to solution. 1 glass was sufficient to restore a feeling of lightness and clarity within the span of an hour. In those days, most households relied on a single coal fire or a gas heater to warm just the living room, leaving the rest of the house unheated. Venturing into the bedrooms, you encountered icy conditions, so you bundled up in thick pajamas, socks, and occasionally even a jumper before burrowing under the blankets. Waking in the morning, you'd often find intricate frost patterns, like delicate ferns, etched on the interior side of your windows. Watching your breath turn to mist, you summoned the courage to part with the cozy warmth of your bed. This exposure to perpetual cold conditions ruggedized people. Bodies adapted, and the immune system grew more resilient because it had no choice but to do so. Modern science refers to this as the hygiene hypothesis, the concept that exposure to cold, dirt, and natural bacteria is necessary for developing a robust immunity. For children of the 70s, this was an everyday reality. Central heating was a rarity, a luxury for the more affluent, whereas everyone else embraced the bracing conditions, paradoxically resulting in a healthier populace. Kids raised in chilly homes appeared to catch far fewer colds compared to the children in today's centrally heated abodes. Back in those days, the human body learned a remarkable skill, the ability to regulate its own temperature in order to fight off infections more effectively. After having a hearty breakfast to kickstart the day, children would hurriedly leave their homes, filled with excitement and anticipation. They embarked on their daily adventures without a backward glance, returning only when the street lights flickered on, casting their familiar glow. This was a common routine, one where parental supervision was minimal, yet it was accepted as perfectly normal. Children wandered the neighborhood with an incredible sense of freedom. They plunged into the depths of wooded areas, constructing rudimentary dens out of mud and branches, immersing themselves fully in nature's chaotic playground. The thrill of climbing trees was irresistible, and skinned knees were badges of honor, symbols of their adventurous spirit. These young explorers got their hands dirty, sometimes so thoroughly entrenched in their play that they were barely recognizable by the end of the day. The constant exposure to dirt and bacteria from their adventures was not merely a byproduct of play but rather an essential part of their development. In the 1970s, it was common for children to engage with the world in the most tangible ways. They crafted mud pies with unwashed hands, letting the earth slip through their fingers, and quench their thirst directly from streams, trusting in nature's provision. Bacterial exposure was a daily affair, yet far from harmful, it fortified their immune systems. Spending significant time outdoors, they enjoyed fresh air and the kind of unstructured exercise that modern playgrounds cannot replicate. A generation raised on the rich textures of dirt, grass, and bacteria, their bodies learned resilience in the most organic of ways. This was a time before homes were obsessively sanitized and when children weren't cushioned in sterile environments. The world was a teacher, albeit a raw and unpredictable one, and youngsters learned to fend off common germs and ailments through exposure. Educational broadcasts from the BBC added a layer of structured guidance about personal hygiene to this free-spirited existence. Public information films worked to ingrain basic etiquette in children's minds. Coughs and sneezes spread diseases was more than just a catchy phrase. It was a principle drummed into the consciousness of youth. They were taught to catch sneezes in handkerchiefs, proper cotton ones that unfurled from their sleeves like little parachutes, turning away from others to prevent the spread of germs. This basic discipline, seemingly simple yet profoundly practical, was adhered to and respected by many. At that time, the thought of sneezing openly into a room was nothing short of scandalous, a breach of social decorum no one wished to commit. Back in the 1970s, it was a common practice to cover your mouth with a handkerchief when you coughed or sneezed. This habit was deeply ingrained in daily life, as schools diligently taught and teachers consistently reminded children to adhere to this etiquette. Handkerchiefs, though by today's standards might seem unhygienic, played a crucial role in fostering habits around managing coughs and colds, and they were washed and reused frequently. It was customary for everyone to carry one, reflecting a broader, community-wide approach to hygiene and health. Furthermore, the availability of food was quite limited compared to today. Shops closed by 5 in the evening and remained shut on Sundays, with the exception of corner newsagents. If you craved biscuits or sweets, you had to purchase them during shopping hours and make them last. Unlike today, constant snacking was not part of daily life. Meals were structured around breakfast, a school dinner, and tea upon returning home. Any feelings of hunger needed to be endured until these designated meal times, as snack culture was virtually non-existent. Walking was the primary mode of transportation. Most children trekked to school, often covering more than a mile each way, while mothers walked to shops, post offices, or to visit friends. This routine movement was simply a part of everyday life, and it inadvertently promoted cardiovascular fitness and good health. Walking everywhere ensured that fresh air, daylight, and physical activity were integral to each day. Sweets were a special indulgence reserved for Saturdays, often purchased with pocket money, perhaps 10 or 20 pence, spent thoughtfully at the corner shop. Children selected their treats carefully from the jars behind the counter. During the week, sugar intake was minimal. Perhaps a solitary biscuit accompanied a cup of tea, and desserts followed dinner, but consistent sugar consumption was not commonplace. In essence, sugar was something special rather than a daily occurrence, which helped maintain stable blood sugar levels and allowed the immune system to function optimally. Chocolate bars, like the cherished Makachev bar, were smaller, costlier, and considered genuine treats. You'd savor each bite, making it last as long as possible. This moderation had tangible health benefits. Modern research supports the notion that excessive sugar intake can suppress immune function. In contrast, children in the 70s, consuming sugar mainly on Saturdays, maintained healthier immune systems throughout the week. In those days, minor ailments weren't sufficient reasons to skip school. Unless a child had a fever, rash, or was actively vomiting, they were expected to attend class. Even with a cold, students brought their handkerchiefs, soldiered through their discomfort, and continued learning. With most parents working outside the home, taking a day off for slight illnesses was uncommon. Schools understood that minor sickness was not a barrier to learning, and education remained undisturbed by frequent absences due to trivial colds. The philosophy was straightforward. life goes on. If you felt under the weather, a bit of Vicks and some Lucozade, the ever-popular remedies, were often considered sufficient to help weather the malaise. Ultimately, 70s children experienced illness as frequently as today's generation does, but they recovered more rapidly and with fewer complaints. If this reminiscing stirs any memories for you, or if you still recall the taste of cod liver oil or the distinctive smell of Vicks, feel free to share your family's traditional remedies in the comments. And don't forget, subscribing to the channel keeps these cherished memories vibrant and alive.